Retro Hangover, supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarnes, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Studstill Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Mast Keaton, Ozzy Garcia, JC, Megan Caruso, Rick Firestone, Dave Jackson, Jenny E, Retro Overdrive, Soha, The Emperor, Storm Beagle, Matt, aka Stormageddon, Van Vernal and B-Ross from Super Garbage Day, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon, Keith Gasper, The Retro Vixen, Eric Guess, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Ryan Player One, Alt, Gary Heather, Low 5 Alex, Renner Dreamin', Oh Me, Makeshift Money, and Sega Boy 7. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Welcome to The Flight, a consumable curation of champions and catastrophes that is considerate of your chronometer. This Welcome to The Flight, presented by Retro Hangover. It is I, Chris Copleen, once again, and as always, I am joined by your host, Shane Dick Dragon Cell Tear. Shane, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm ready to put some things out to pasture.
Some would say that this episode shares a lot in common with our own show. I would hope not a lot of you, especially if you're listening to this.
Wouldn't that be great if we just put that at the top of our list? We're like, it's us, please. Just let us go.
Retro Hangover. It's the number one choice for both of us. Bye. This is the last episode, by the way. It's not, I hope. But this is about franchises that need to die. Apparently, once again, our patrons have chosen negativity. I believe they are a cynical bunch, and if you want to correct that, and by the way, the person who nominated this was, once again, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest podcast. Thank you, Keith, for nominating this episode. Your choice won the vote from our patrons, and if you too want to vote on topics or nominate them, all you have to do is head over to our Patreon page, and it's little for as $1 a month. You can vote on these topics, and if you are in our Discord, you can nominate them. But that's how we came to this conclusion, talking about video game franchises that need to die, that we think need to go away. So if you're thinking that we're just hating on things, well, I mean, yes, we are, but it was demanded that we do so. So there. Hope you enjoy. So Shane, how about you kill off my franchise of talking too much and go ahead and give us your number 5.
Number 5.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and do that then. So starting off, my list is, I'm going to be honest, is probably the spiciest one out of them. And I don't even think it really is that much because the rest of them are honestly pretty straightforward, but I feel like people have strong feelings about this. But it's Pokemon. Pokemon needs to fuck off. I think it's done. Like it was probably done a long time ago, and it's just it's like the video game equivalent of The Simpsons. It's just like a shell of its former self. It's bloated, and particularly in Pokemon's case, man. Listen, I've said this sort of just like as a joke before in the past, but it's not entirely a joke. That I just feel like 150 Pokemon was like enough. Like you didn't need more than that many little pocket creatures, right? Like that seemed good. And you know what? I'll even give you like a couple extra gens just because whatever. And nobody can say, for the record, the Gen 1 was like the most creative one, because there was a pile of fucking eggs. So let's not go down that road. But it's done. Like it's stale. To me, I feel like it's stale. And I don't think that they're really putting that much effort into doing anything particularly interesting. It's just a cash cow that's just churning out slop. Like I think it feels untenable. Like when they have to come up with solutions to be able to carry over Pokemon from one game to the next because there's just so many of them, and it has gotten too big for its little yellow rat britches, and I feel like it needs to just call it a day. Like you won. You won video games. You can stop now. Thank you.
I understand that feeling. I do. And I by the way, I do want to add this disclaimer. We know that a lot of you love these games. These are our lists that we want to kill.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can love your games to your heart content. Doesn't mean we will. All right. Moving on to my number 5. It might be one that's already dead, which is why it's my number 5. God, I hope it's dead. And that is Metal Gear. Kojima's gone, Konami. I don't want to see any more Metal Gear new content, any new stories. Kojima was trying to leave since 2, I think. I think he was trying to get out of that series since 2. And you can tell. And every single time he makes a new installment, he's like, okay, this is done. Konami's like, no. He's like, okay, I made a new great game and it's done. Konami's like, no. And then he made Metal Gear Solid 5 and said, fuck it, I don't care, I'm gone. Well, he got fired. So he didn't say I'm gone. But Konami said, you're gone. And then they came out with whatever, the game, I don't know, the terrible online one. I never want to see another Metal Gear game again because Kojima is not making them. And Metal Gear is a Kojima game. And I think the story is over. It's done. Snake's story is complete. We don't need to know anything else. Nothing. It's fine. Go away. So Konami, scuttle it. I guess you can keep remastering it forever and ever and ever or whatever and do it poorly like you love to do. But I don't want to see anything new. I really hope you killed it and it is dead.
Number 4.
Okay. Well, my number 4 is one that has gone so far up its own like cringe lord ass that I don't think too many people are going to disagree with me on this one. And that is Borderlands. Borderlands should have been done like a long time ago. Like, frankly, Borderlands should have been a one and done game because the first game was this kind of like fresh take on shooters. It was really the thing that kind of kicked off the whole looter shooter craze, actually. And so at the time, it was something relatively new. And the humor was, a little oddball and quirky without being, just absolutely cringeworthy. They weren't relying on a bunch of very topical, like social references that actually don't necessarily make sense in the context of the game, or using modern slang in weird ways. Like it was the right amount of weird that it was like still entertaining and charming. And then you know what? I'll even give the Borderlands 2. I enjoyed Borderlands 2 for the record. 3, I think, is where it really kind of jumped the shark for me, and because it just went full in on this garbage. And I think it was a case of them being like, oh, this worked, so we're going to double down on this aspect of it. And I think it was just worse off for it. Not everything needs to be a franchise. Not everything needs to have a bunch of sequels and spinoffs. I think Borderlands in and of itself is a great game, and it could just exist on its own without any of the other crap surrounding it. And let's not even go into the god-awful feature film adaptation that was released fairly recently. I think that's it. I think it should just go now. I think it's done enough damage, and it can take Tiny Tina and fuck off into the desert sunset.
Awesome. I've never played a single Borderlands game, by the way.
First one's good.
I'm somewhat shocked it's still around. I'm somewhat shocked it's actually still around. My number 4, I don't necessarily want it to die, but I do, and this is genuinely, I want it to die. This is the first one in this group I want to die. Like, just go away. Go, like, fucking die. And that's Madden. I used to love Madden. I was one of your annualized whales. I never, before microtransactions. Every single year, I take my old copy of Madden, my old copy of NCAA. I would trade them in for the new copies. I would play the absolute dog shit out of them. I would play season after season of NCAA. I'd roll over my classes into Madden. I'd make them pros, make them Hall of Famers, like have insane draft classes, just completely manipulate the formula. Love the franchise mode. They've gone off the rails, man. I don't know why there are features. I know I'm kind of scatterbrained as usual, but like I tried looking into the features for franchise mode in modern Maddens and just looking at the modes, because if I'm going to spend $70 on a video game, I want to make sure that I'm getting the game I want. There are features in the old games that are not in the modern games. You go back and play a PS2 game, franchise mode, PS2, PS3. They have more features, more customability, more flexibility than they do in the modern games. How? Oh, so you can shove like digital trading cards down our throats? Like that's what gamers want? I guess, because they won't stop making them, and they're making money and they're selling a lot. If you like that, hey, I'm good on you. I don't get it. I liked playing just a fucking football game. Maybe you make a new one when you redesign the engine every 3-4 years. And you know what? A $5 full roster update, $5-10. I can't even complain about that. Charge me money to pay for a roster update for each year and let me switch between the year's rosters. Make that selectable. I would be completely happy. But no. You have to come out with shit. Like, you literally open up your corporate ass cheeks, take a dookie right into the mouths of susceptible consumers who will pay for the same damn thing with less features year after year after year. Die. Or like, I want someone else to do it again. Remember at NFL 2K? Yeah. They scared the shit out of you, and that's why there's only one of you now. There needs to be more than one of you. And I think the best way to do that is to kill you, Madden.
Number 3.
Welp. My middle of the list here is one that I actually really enjoyed quite a bit back in the day, and then just sort of fell off, much in the same way that I did with The Walking Dead, the show, not the Telltale game. At some point it was just like, yeah, I think I've seen enough, and this is going way off the fucking rails, and that's Assassin's Creed.
We're going to spend some time on this one then.
I'm sure we probably will.
No, because it's the same pick.
Oh, you did number 3 for this too, huh?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, here's the thing. I love the Ezio trilogy. I really do. I think it's a fantastic set of games, and I think it perfectly encapsulates everything that Assassin's Creed needed to be. And you know what? I'll throw the original in there too, because I know that some people, you know, especially going back now, you're like, oh, this is rough. I don't really think so. I came to it much later because I didn't have a 360 or anything until way late in its life cycle. I still thought it was great. It obviously, Assassin's Creed 2 improved on it immensely. I think 2 is probably the peak of the series, if I had to be honest, but man, they're just good. Like they know what they want to do, right? And that's the thing, is they lost the fucking plot somewhere along the way, like literally and figuratively, actually, because in a figurative sense, they lost the plot because why the fuck was anyone playing Assassin's Creed in the first place? Because you wanted to assassinate people in ancient history in cool ways. That was it. That's it. And then at some point they're like, yeah, but what if we turn this into a full-fledged third-person action game and did all this extra bullshit?
RPG.
Yeah, an RPG,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah. And they're like, no, you didn't fucking need any of that at all. And not only that, but not that I'm like the biggest fan of the whole like modern day Desmond Abstergo thing. At the same time, I wanted to see where that was going to go. Like they were building that whole storyline with like the Apple and all this shit. And like they were leading towards Desmond becoming a modern day assassin. And that just died. That storyline just died because they were just like, no, we're taking it in this other fucking weird direction. And we're going to do the Americas and then let's do pirates and then, you know, whatever, China, whatever the fuck. And here's the thing is like, I get it, right? Like Assassin's Creed, the way that it's structured, in theory, you could do any time period in human history and it would probably work pretty well. And you know what? I would be okay with that if they stuck to the fucking script. I think that's my big issue is that at some point, Assassin's Creed, like you said, became more of like something trying to be a third-person RPG than an assassin simulator. And I think it was just trying to do too much. And I think if it stayed in its fucking lane, I personally would have been okay with, you know, exploring different ones. Like clearly there must have been other people working at Abstergo. I'm sure, you know, that you could have branched out in that way and it still would have been fine. But I think it's just, it got too bloated, I think is the problem. They were trying to accomplish too much when they should have just stayed focused on what was actually bringing people to the games in the first place.
Yeah. I'm largely with you. I don't want to say that the quality of the games have necessarily gone down. There are going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. I'm going to be honest. I haven't played any of them since the Ezio trilogy, and Assassin's Creed 4 looks fantastic. And I have friends who have played Valhalla and Odyssey, and they really liked it. But it's at some point it stopped being Assassin's Creed, and I'm looking at this as like, what does this have to do with being an assassin? What does this have to do with anything in the first one? People could be like, oh, games evolve. And it's like Ubisoft, I think, modernly looking at it at time of recording, if they're still existing in the future, could have used some new IPs. And it feels like these were new IPs that maybe they weren't entirely confident would be successful on their own, so they slapped a label on it. Something that's going to be discussed in my next pick. But they're like, oh, it's a new Assassin's Creed game. And it's like, how? How does this have anything to do with anything that you did in the original ones? And when you annualize a product, I think you automatically set it up for failure. Assassin's Creed isn't just running around and being an assassin. It's a spiritual successor to Prince of Persia. Which, you know, eventually Prince of Persia came out and they were running alongside each other with various games. But it was supposed to be a Prince of Persia game to start off. I don't see any Prince of Persia in the modern Assassin's Creed games. And I think the last one that I want to go check it out, no one even knew existed. So the name was appropriate in Mirage, because I'm not even sure that's a real game. Because, like, I didn't hear anything about it. No hype. Nothing about it. And the only reason the most recent one got any sort of press was, one, because it was in Japan, and two, because it became some sort of culture war battle. Hooray! When your series has boiled down into relevancy because of culture war battles, I think it's time to hang it up. And I'm not making any statement on where I stand on it. I'm not, no, do not get me in that at all. Separate me from that. But if that is the most relevant thing about your franchise, it's dead. Your franchise is dead. I'm sorry. And it needs to go away, or at least take a very, very, very long hiatus. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. Like, I think like, I mean, it might be forced to at this point because who the fuck knows what's going to happen to Ubisoft in the future, right? But
Mm.
recalibrate yourself, understand what an Assassin's Creed game is. Take all those good ideas that you do have from the games that kind of departed from the original formula and come up with a different series that's more in alignment with what you're trying to do there and different gameplay styles. And I think you have something. But they've gone away from and I do like the first Assassin's Creed game, and the Ezio trilogy is a fantastic trilogy. And I would like to see games with that kind of style and personality, not on a yearly basis, but every once in a while. A nice, polished, great experience where you're exploring old cities that you can climb around and explore the landscape and the scenery and everything like that, like an Assassin's Creed game is supposed to be. So I agree with you. My number three is Assassin's Creed. Uh, find an assassin and take it out. Maybe Tom Clancy can do it for you if Ubisoft you didn't kill him already. All right, what's your number two, Shane?
Number 2.
All right. Well, that works out. Kind of just move this thing right along. The rest of this is going to be terribly unsurprising. Not that any of this was to begin with, I guess. But here's the thing is that I think the common theme here, and you kind of hit it right on the head a few minutes ago, is that annualization is the death of creativity. And my number 2 and my number 1 are both picked pretty much for that reason. And my number 2 is sort of a joint venture between Call of Duty and Battlefield. Like, like why? Just why? We've been at a point for so long now where you could just create basically a game as a service, as much as I kind of throw up in my mouth a little when I say that, but like, just do that. Just call it Call of Duty, and then just release new content for that same platform. You don't have to release a new game every year or every couple years. Like, I think right now they're on a 3-year dev cycle, and they've got at least 2 studios working on Call of Duty games. So they're kind of alternating to make sure that shit gets churned out constantly. I don't, man, I feel like I'd love to sit down and talk with somebody, and I'm sure there's probably somebody in our community that could probably answer these questions. I just want to ask, like, what is the draw? Like, I don't get it. This is one of those things that just goes way over my head, because I'm just like, why would you spend full price money, or in some cases pre-order, what is more or less the same game every year? I guess it's just because you've got friends that you play with online and you just want to keep up with the new hotness, I suppose. But I would argue that there's plenty of persistent online competitive shooters that are just there now. They're available, and they have been for a long time. So I don't really understand the purpose of dropping 60, 70, upwards of 90 or $100 if you're crazy and get collector's editions or, early head start editions or whatever the hell. I don't understand it, man. Like, obviously they're making money doing it, but I don't get it.
I wouldn't have a problem if they died. That would not bother me.
Well, and I think the other big problem too, apart from just I feel like I'm old man shaking fist at cloud, but like the other part of it is
this episode.
It's in a way, I feel like it stifles creativity, because you've got these entire studios that have a whole host of talented people working on just churning out the same fucking competitive FPS every year. If they were released from that servitude, like I have to imagine that there would be other more creative, fresher ventures that they could go off and make than just the same thing over and over again. And I think that's actually the real big shame of it all.
And while we're on this tangent, just to further agree with you here, I'm not against sequels. I don't think anybody who plays games or is in any sort of media is against following on or or making a new installment in a series. I don't think that's the case whatsoever.
Mm.
But if you can make a new IP and do things differently and branch off while keeping one more true to its roots and maybe shore up talent along what's true, like that, like, hey, this studio is really good at this, have them do this, and because they love doing it. And you have some people like, hey, we want to try a different formula, make it a new IP. You can even put like if you want to do Call of Duty Modern Warfare and then make Modern Warfare its own series, but not make it Call of Duty. And everyone would be like, oh, it was one of the Call of Duty games. But it's you get rid of the Call of Duty moniker, now it's its own thing. And then you have multiple series that you can roll out. I mean, you could still have an annual product. You have to have a product every year, right? But it's I say that like it's so like matter of fact. But it's like publishers need to come out with something every year. But what you do is like you make them different enough that they feel different. And all that does is just makes everything better. You come out with more varied products, and you come out with more varied series. And so if just everything falls under the umbrella of boom, Call of Duty, boom, Assassin's Creed, then there's nothing special about any of those installments. And it doesn't make sense to call them that anymore. It's just, it's our flagship series. And so what happens when that series tanks? You don't have any backup. You don't have anything anymore. And you're desperately scrambling to find a replacement for it. And that's when you see studios start to suffer. And I'm not saying that is the cause or that is happening right now, but it definitely could. Anyway, that kind of leads me into my number 2, which is Final Fantasy. And I love Final Fantasy. I think listeners of the show know it. It just needs to fucking die, dude. The fact that there were debates raging when Final Fantasy 16 came out as to what is a Final Fantasy game, I think that tells you everything, really. How do we not even all agree on what a Final Fantasy game is? Like, there are people that will bend over backwards, twist themselves into pretzels, and find the most harebrained excuse as to why a game should be called a Final Fantasy game. Is it a turn-based RPG? Yes or no? And I am just so of an old school head. I am like, is it turn-based? Is it a turn-based RPG? No? Okay. It's in a different series. It's a spin-off. It's whatever. People be like, well, there's thematic elements. Like what? A fucking chicken in a cactus that walks? Okay. Oh, I guess it's Final Fantasy. You kill God. That's an original concept in an RPG. It's a Final Fantasy right there. No, it's... I'm sorry. If your game is an action game, if it's fucking Bayonetta with stat points, it's not Final Fantasy. I don't know what to tell you. But I guess in the most basic definition of what constitutes a game is whatever the company who's making it slaps on it. So yes, technically, the modern Final Fantasy games have been Final Fantasy games because what Final Fantasy really is today is the flagship franchise of Square Enix. It's whatever they dump the most money into and try to get the most money from. That is what Final Fantasy is. That's the definition of the game. It just needs to die. I understand if it dies, pretty much Square Enix dies. And at this point, I don't really give a shit if it does, because there's so many good things that Square Enix does do. Don't get me wrong. Like, all their side projects are pretty good, but I feel like so much money is siphoned away from making those projects better to make the next Final Fantasy, which is it has just random themes attached to it that makes it Final Fantasy-ish. And then they can have a bunch of fanboys argue about whether or not it really is a Final Fantasy game for them, that it's hurting everything else. The Mana games, I think, have come back a little bit. So Visions of Mana, I think, did pretty well. But the Valkyrie Profile series came out with a pretty weak entry because I don't think it probably got enough funding. Star Ocean, I think, is dead now, too. I think there's just, they had to sell off their... the IDOS branch that had Hitman and Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and all those things. Those are all gone. Those are all away from the Square Enix umbrella. But they keep pumping out Final Fantasies. Why? Why? It's dead. Hironobu Sakaguchi left a long time ago, and so did the heart of that franchise. Sorry to say, that's what it is. He left, and so did the soul of the franchise. And you're walking around with a corpse that's cosplaying as a franchise everyone loves. And that's not, again, once again, just like Assassin's Creed, it does not mean these games are bad. We liked Final Fantasy 13. We recommended it. We enjoyed that game. And I know a lot of people like 12. I know a lot of people like 16 and 15, but like these are just misrepresentations of what that series was for like 10 games. But I mean, like what you like, I think just kill it and make these games that are different products, different IPs.
Yeah, this one was almost on my list too, because I don't understand what makes a final what constitutes a Final Fantasy game. Like, and this has been a long running thing for me. I've never understood this, because to me Final Fantasy was always like a high fantasy medieval style JRPG, and then at some point it was like, okay, but also a weird future sort of cyberpunky thing, maybe steampunk mixed in somewhere, kind of, but I don't know. I have no idea. I'm sure there's like lore explanations for it, but I feel like that series has just had an identity crisis for so long that I don't know, man. But yeah, I agree.
Well, it's what happens when all the creators that are on it today have nothing to do with the creative staff that was there in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. There's not a real through line. They have bits and pieces that came on at different times, but it's yeah. Like there's like you're like, I don't know what the lore is. That's the thing. There is no lore. There's no lore. They're all not connected, and that only exacerbates the problem.
I would say that also greatly bothers me, that there's like no connection whatsoever. But at that point, like, what even makes it Final Fantasy? It's just a thing to like hang on a game to hopefully boost sales. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
no, that's exactly what it is. Sorry. Yeah, that's
yeah. Well, that also just honorable mention, because it was almost on my list, but I have very similar feelings about Kingdom Hearts too. As much as I love Kingdom Hearts, and I love it in all its complex stupidity, I think it should have just been done after 2. But anyway, that is not on my list.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah.
Number 1.
But my number 1 is the absolutely surprising thing in the world, and it's already been mentioned by Chris earlier, and that is annualized sports games. They have just become like glorified slot machines. They are a vehicle in which to push upon the masses egregious microtransactions and nothing more, particularly FIFA. FIFA is disgusting as far as that is concerned.
Good news. There's no more FIFA. It's now EA Football Club, because they lost the license.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. I'm not going to count. I'm not counting that as a death. No, I'm counting that as FIFA staging its own death and then showing up somewhere else with a mustache on. But anyway, yeah, no, man. Like, again, this is one of those ones that I just don't get. Like, at some point, you maybe you could have made the argument for this years and years ago, back when there were still like demonstrable leaps in technology between games, even between years. We are well past that point now. Like we have far surpassed the point of diminishing returns as far as technological advancement goes, particularly in regards to video games and the presentation thereof, that there is no clear difference or improvement from year to year. So like kind of all you're doing is just dropping full retail price for what? The ability to play with the most recent season's players, which again, I go back to, just make it a platform. Like, just call it Madden and just release content packs for it as DLCs every time there's a new season, and just fucking call it good. Like, the whole release cycle thing is stupid. Like, I just don't get it. But there you go. I honestly don't have much more to say on that one. Like I said, I think that's probably at the top of a lot of people's lists, but yeah, it's just, to me, that's not even, it just feels so soulless. I don't know. But anyway,
I agree.
there you go.
So my number one is not out of frustration. My number one is not out of anger or they have done the fans wrong or anything. I just want it to get to a point where it doesn't. This is me saying I love a franchise so much. I want it to keep its identity so much that I want it to end. And I want it to die. And that is Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is a series known for having 3 people being the reason it is the game that it is. And those are Yuji Horii, Akira Toriyama, and Koichi Sugiyama. Akira Toriyama and Koichi Sugiyama are both dead. They have passed. They have left this world. R.I.P. Why are you going to continue this? The animation style, like, and I'm not saying get rid of remasters. I think you can do a remaster. I think you can have a different artistic interpretation and marketing, everything like that. But I don't think there's going to be another mainline Dragon Quest game. Maybe save for 12. If Toriyama did the animation for 12 and Sugiyama had already written tracks for 12, because we don't know what's going on with 12. It was announced years ago before both of them passed on. We don't know. But beyond that, will any Dragon Quest game truly have the heart and soul that the rest of the series contained? I'm sure that, like, there's a lot of handoffs over the years in terms of responsibility and game development and writing and all those things. But you have to imagine that the 3 of them, like, Sugiyama was writing scores for the games the entire time. Like, that's just who did that. Whatever you think of his music, I think it's too similar across the series. But it's Dragon Quest. The style, the character designs, they are Akira Toriyama designs. That's Dragon Quest. If you don't have that, what do you have? Is it Dragon Quest anymore? It kind of goes back to my point about Final Fantasy, and when Sakaguchi left Square, there was a definite feeling of difference in the series from that point on. Some people prefer it. Others, like myself, think it kind of went astray. And I don't want to see Dragon Quest go astray. I kind of want it preserved. It's a legendary franchise. It deserves legendary treatment. And I'm not saying no one else on this planet could do the series well, but I don't know if they should. At least not for a very, very long time. And it would need to kind of completely reset or be a complete homage and start its own series. I think it's not so much that it's a series that's run its course, because it's also a series that, you know, some games have connections. I know 1 through 3 have direct plot connections. 4 through 6 have similar themes, and then beyond that, they're very unconnected up to 11. Like 7 through 11 are not connected in really any sort of way to anything else. But stylistically and in terms of their audio, like everything in terms of its presentation has a clear through line. The gameplay style is all the same. It has never really significantly deviated. Don't ruin it. Let it go out with the people that made it what it was. And that's why it's my number 1. I don't want to talk about it like I'm talking about the previous games on this list. Keep it real, Square Enix. I know you're not going to do it because it prints money in Japan. But I just don't do it. Kill it off before it just dies in its wandering around being a shadow of its former self.
Yes, you either die Dragon Quest or you live long enough to see yourself become Silent Hill.
Neither of us included Silent Hill. I mean, it did kind
I
of came back.
I strongly is considering it. I think after this most recently announced one, if depending on how that goes, it may be where I should say, you know what, let's just fucking call it, because probably should have happened a long time ago, but you know. Anyway,
That maybe it should have been on this list. Who knows?
yeah, I don't know. But at any rate, there you go. Top 5 franchises that probably just need to pack it in. Just hang up the old boots, call it a day.
Fuck you,
I don't
guy.
you know, and there are obviously, as we just sort of said, there are plenty of other options out there. So your personal list may not necessarily share a lot with ours. And so if you have some thoughts on other franchises that you think probably have run their course at this point and just need to call it quits, you know, we'd love to hear about it. And probably the best way to do that would be to jump into our Discord. It is open, it is public, it is free to join, and we have a great community in there. So we ask you to just hop in and contribute to the discussion. You know, share your thoughts. And while you're at it, you may be thinking, hey, how do I get there? Well, probably the easiest way is our link tree. All of the stuff is in one spot, just for you. We did that for you. You're welcome. And it's Linktree, linktr.ee/retro hangover. That's it. That's the whole thing. And if you know, other than the Discord, if you want to check out other things, we've got our Patreon and our merch store there. We also have our socials and our video platforms, such as they are. You can see us on the YouTube and the Twitch television. We play games on there fairly regularly, superb owls and federal holidays notwithstanding. So, I don't know, Chris, anything else you want to throw in here? This one's already running longer than I was hoping it was going to.
Yeah, a lot longer than we thought. No, I don't really. Just show up to our streams or don't.
Neat. All right. There you go. Well, in that case, until the next flight,
Play with your John Candy is the best Final Fantasy Mog joysticks.